Hello everyone, I Kirandeep Kaur, working as an assistant professor in ISF College of Pharmacy in the Department of Pharmaceutics. In today's lecture, I will cover the topic absorption, and in this topic, my main focus will be on mechanism of drug transportation. So let's start with the definition of the drug absorption. It is the process of movement of unchanged drug from the site of administration to the systemic circulation. You should mention the word unchanged form of the drug because through the oral route the drug can be metabolized before the absorption. So it is called the pre-systemic metabolism of the drug. The drug has to enter the systemic circulation to exert their effect can be administered by the major routes, the enteral route, parenteral route, and the ductal route. So our main focus on the GAP route, which is the most common route of the drug administration. So for the absorption of GI route, we should know about the membrane physiology for the drugs to be absorbed and distributed into the organs and the tissue and eliminated from the body. It must pass through the biological membrane, which is a binding layer of lipids. So drug has to pass this membrane. To pass this membrane, the drug has to be lipid soluble. So let's continue with the mechanism of the drug absorption. There are main three mechanisms of the drug: transcellular or intracellular transport, paracellular or intercellular transportation, and vesicular transportation. And further, the transcellular transportation is further divided into two main classes, or the main type of transportation is the passive transport process, and another one is the active transport process. So this is the diagrammatic illustration of the transportation mechanism, in which you can clearly see the transcellular mechanism in which the drug can transport through the cell. And in the paracellular transportation, the drug has to transport through the tight junction of between two cells. And in the vesicular transportation, the drug travels through the cell but in the form of vesicles, and in the vesicular cells, the drug may be in liquid form or maybe in the solid form. So we will explain this in more detailed manner. So let's start with the transcellular or intracellular transportation. Is defined as the passage of the drug across the GI epithelium, or through the cells. So there are three steps involved in the transcellular transportation. First one is the permeation of GI epithelial cell membrane, that the drug has to permeate through the epithelial membrane, and further drug has to move across the intracellular space between the cells, which is clearly shown in the diagram. And after that, when the drug travels through the cell and the drug has to reach systemic circulation, and it has to permeate through the basolateral membrane. So further, the various transcellular transport process involved in drug absorption are: first one is the passive transport process. I have already mentioned this, and another one is the active transport process. And passive transport process means it do not require energy other than that of the molecular motion, that is Brownian movement, and pass through the lipid bilayer membrane. So the passive transport process can further be classified into following types. First one is the passive diffusion, pore transport, ion pair transport, and carrier-mediated or facilitated transportation. Here is the diagrammatic illustration of the passive diffusion. You can clearly see the drug is moving from the higher concentration to the lower concentration, and the driving force of this movement is the concentration gradient. It is also called as the non-ionic diffusion, is the major process for the absorption of 90% drugs. And I have already mentioned that the driving force is concentration gradient means the difference between the concentration concentration on either side of the membrane. That much the difference between the concentration and will tend to increase the rate of absorption of the drug. The passive diffusion is best expressed by the Fick's first law of diffusion, which states that the molecule diffuses from the region of its higher concentration to the lower concentration until equilibrium is attained, and that the rate of diffusion is directly proportional to the concentration gradient, which I already told you. So Fick's first law is dq by dt is equal to dak upon h, and concentration of drug in GIT minus concentration of drug in the systemic circulation. H means the thickness of the membrane is inversely proportional to the rate of the absorption. Means the thickness will, if the thickness is high, then the rate of absorption is low, and the concentration is gradient is directly proportional to the rate of absorption. Next one is the pore transportation. Non-ionic drugs and lipid-soluble drugs can follow the mechanism of passive diffusion to travel through the membrane. The water-soluble drugs can follow the pore transportation, and it is also called the convective transport, bulk flow, or filtration. The driving force is hydrostatic pressure or the osmotic difference across the membrane. The process is important in the absorption of low molecular weight drugs, generally water soluble, through narrow and aqueous-filled channels like protein channels, and chain-like structures can easily pass through the pores or protein channels, and their molecular weight must be lower than the 400 Dalton. Drug permeation through water-filled channels. Next one is the ion pair transport. I have already discussed in the passive diffusion that unionized form of drug can easily pass through the membrane, but ionic form of the drug can't be passed through the membrane. So it has to make pair with the opposite type of ions so that it can form a neutral complex and pass through the membrane. And despite their low oil-water partition coefficient values, such agents penetrate the membrane by forming reversible neutral complexes with endogenous ions of GIT like mucin. Such neutral complexes can easily be passed through the membrane, and after traveling through the membrane, they can easily dissociate, and drug can retain in its free form to distribute to the tissues or organs. So, which is clearly shown in the diagram that the cation drug can form a complex with the endogenous anion and form a neutral complex and travel passively through the membrane and dissociates in the systemic circulation. Next one is the carrier-mediated transportation. Some polar drugs can easily pass through the protein channels, but the drugs which has molecular weight more than 400 Dalton can opt the carrier-mediated transportation. So some cross the membrane more readily that can be predicted from their concentration gradient. The mechanism involves the carriers that might reversibly or non-covalently with the solute molecules to be transported. This carrier stream complex transverses the membrane to other side, which is dissociates and release the solute molecule. The combination of drug and the carrier is like a lock and key system, or structure-based binding is required in the carrier-mediated transportation. The carrier travels with the drug through the membrane and release the drug to the other side of the membrane in the systemic circulation, and then move to its original place to carry fresh molecule of the drug. So this graph shows that the carrier-mediated transportation is dependent on the concentration of the carriers. So after some time, this process becomes saturated. Next one is the facilitated diffusion. It is also the part of the carrier-mediated transportation. As I have already mentioned, that carrier-mediated transportation is a lock-and key type system. But if the drug is unable to fix to the carrier, there is then the drug follows the facilitated diffusion, because there is an intrinsic factors which help to fix the drug with the carriers, and further carriers can travel through the membrane and transport the drug to the systemic circulation. So it is a kind of carrier-mediated transportation. So next one is the active transportation. This transport mechanism requires energy in the form of ATP, and it's further divided into two subdivisions. The first one is the primary active transportation, and the second one is the secondary active transportation. In the primary active transportation, in this process there is a direct requirement of the ATP and the direct consumption of the ATP for the movement of the drug, and it is up the concentration, the movement is upward from the concentration gradient, that means from lower concentration to the higher concentration. That's why this process required the energy in the form of ATPs. And this if the drug is moving in one direction, which is called as unipotent. For example, the absorption of the glucose is a type of movement like a unipotent. And in this mechanism, two types of transporters are able to transport the drug from the lower concentration to the higher concentration is the ion transporters and ATP binding acids. Ion transporters can transport the drug in anionic or cationic form, and ATP binding acids efflux the drug outside the cell. So next is the secondary active transport. In this process, no direct ATPs are required. In this, the process take advantage of previously existing concentration gradient. The energy required in transporting an ion aids transport of another ion or molecule, either in the same direction or in the opposite direction. According to this process, is further divided into two categories: is sympoter and antipoter. In sympoter, the movement of the molecules is in same direction, and in antipoter, which involves the movement of the drug molecule or the both molecules to the opposite direction. Here is the diagram which clearly shows the difference between the primary active transportation and secondary active transportation. And here the drug is moving from lower concentration to the higher concentration directly using ATP, and here the drug is moving lower to higher concentration in same direction, means symport, and here the molecules are moving in the opposite direction, which means antipode movement of the drug. So next main mechanism is the paracellular or intracellular transportation. Is defined as the transport of the drug through the tight junctions between the GI epithelial cells. The pathway is of minor importance because 90% of the drug follows passive diffusion. It is further involved to absorption mechanisms. First one is the permeation through tight junction of epithelial cell, and second one is the persorption, which I have already mentioned. This process basically occurs through the opening which are little bigger than the echospores, which is in the protein channels. Yeah, so the higher molecular weight drug can easily pass through these tight junctions of the epithelial cells. And the next one is the persorption. This is the temporary openings formed by the shedding of two neighboring epithelial cells into the limb. So it is a temporary transportation of the drug, basically. So last mechanism is the vesicular or the endocytosis. Like active transportation, these are also energy-dependent process, but involves the transportation of the substance within the vesicles into the cell, and it involves the vesicular sac, and with which drug can envelop and cross the membrane, and the drug can be of in the solid form or in the liquid form. If the drug is moving in the liquid form within the vesicle, it is known as pinocytosis. And if the drug is moving in solid form within the vesicular sac, travels through the membrane, it is called as phagocytosis. And this is the diagrammatic illustration of phagocytosis, in which a drug is moving in the vesicular sac in the solid form, and there the drug is moving in the soluble form, and it is known as pinocytosis. So with this, I conclude my presentation on the topic of absorption of drug, and thank you for your kind attention.